We're back with Kevin Williamson. He's the Deputy Managing Editor of National Review and author of The Politically Incorrect Guide to Socialism. You must have it. And Richard Poe, co-author of Shadow Party, a book that I don't think I would have believed 3 years ago. And it is Melt Your Brain. It's unbelievable. It is truly, truly unbelievable. Both of those are must-reads. We were just talking. Do we have a picture of, you know who? Do we have that ready yet? Do you have the picture? I asked for one. Because we were talking, Richard and I were talking off air here a second ago. And I said, we went into the break and I said, okay, let me tell you what I really think. Let me tell you what I really think. I really think there is somebody who is going to come in and give us the illusion of the Republic. Because that's what you have to do. You have to have craziness, radicals in control, let everybody know that they're radicals in control, and then swoop in and have somebody stop it, but that somebody is part of the top down. But the American people don't know it. You know, and I know, that he is part of this group. I mean, we know it. We also know that George Soros is part of it. Do we have the picture? I'm just going to say it if we don't have the picture. Who goes here? If everything falls apart and everybody says, he was part of it, you go and you clean up some of this mess. You clean up this mess. You clean up the obvious people. Most people don't know these guys. You leave them, but you know this guy. You don't know that guy. You clean up the obvious people. And you say, my gosh, we just got the bad guys. But somebody who's part of this needs to be the leader of it. I think it's Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, is she not part of Center for American Progress?
Hillary Clinton was the founder of the Center for American Progress, along with her partner, George Soros. They were the two moving principals who began it in 2002, 2003. And originally, it was widely seen and discussed in the left-wing press, such as The Nation, as Hillary Clinton's think tank. It was described in The Nation as a government in the wings waiting for President Hillary Clinton to come in. And indeed, although Hillary was not elected this time around, her Center for American Progress, her personal think tank, again I'm quoting from the left-wing press, her personal think tank, as we've been discussing, provided many of the people who are now in Obama's administration, which is a very strange thing when you think that that Obama and Hillary are supposed to be deadly enemies and rivals, and then her think tank fills up his administration with her people.
Isn't that strange? Because I don't think Hillary Clinton, I don't think she's a Marxist. Is she a Marxist?
I think she is. She's a genuine leftist. I believe she has unlike Mr. Soros, I believe she has a genuine belief in her progressive agenda.
Yes, she's an extreme liberal progressive, but she's not a Marxist communist. She's not these guys, right?
No.
Yeah, she's not these.
Definitely not.
Okay, so Hillary Clinton comes in because this is her government. As you just said, this is her government. Shadow party. This is it. She set it up. Business people. She can help rat these people out. They're useful idiots. They're useful idiots. Now that, I want you to know, is a conspiracy theory. That one's just me. I'm trying to figure out so that one is a conspiracy theory. Let me go to, we have Jason. Where's Jason? Jason.
You've been talking over the past couple years about, the czars and the different people in the government, and they're somewhat a little vague. So I was wondering, tangibly speaking, like, for example, Cass Sunstein, you refer to him as like a tweaker of regulations. So can we pinpoint perhaps several examples of specific regulations he has tweaked over the course of a couple years? Let me give two that are just happening right now. Right now they're going after guns. They're going after your guns, and they're going to do it through regulation. They are just regulating, well, this gun is really for sports. This one's not. So they're going to tweak the regulations. You have it on guns. There was another one that happened this week. You have it currently happening in healthcare. Kevin, what else do you have?
Well, I mean, the interesting thing about Cass Sunstein and his position is that he has a hand in every regulation, right?
Yep.
And I mean, there's nothing that goes through the White House in terms of regulatory invention that he doesn't have a hand on. And what he's been put in charge of is this panel that's supposed to review all of the federal regulations, looking for things that are onerous or obsolete or outdated or anything like that. And to put a guy like that in charge of a project like that just simply, suggests that you're not really serious about getting it done, and that you don't, in fact, want to reduce the level of the regulatory state. It's sort of like the fact that Joe Biden's been put in charge of negotiating with Republicans about deficit reduction. I mean, if you don't want to do anything, obviously you put Joe Biden in charge of it, who slept through the speech, knocked out. So, I think what people often overlook about the way the regulatory state works is that it's a way to implement public policy without paying for it. You can get businesses to do the things that you want them to do, and it never actually shows up on the books. We spend about $1.7 trillion a year in regulatory compliance costs for American businesses. That's more than businesses pay in corporate income taxes. It's more than all corporate profits in America put together. And it's a really nice kind of low-cost way to get your agenda put out with A, not having to have a vote in Congress over it, B, ever having to answer to the voters for it, or C, ever having to put it on the books and pay for it.
Let me show you this. Indoctrination of youth and control the message will do that. Control the message, he's doing. Education regulation, control big business, he's doing. Electoral stuff he's involved with, not in this. I don't know about that. Religion, they're currently going after religions. Charity, he's going after this. History, I don't know. This one is really important, indoctrinate youth and control the message, because his official title is the head of the Office of Information. That sounds ominous. Back in just a second. Back with Kevin Williamson, Richard Poe, and Mark, who has a question. Mark.
Yes, the Constitution being challenged so much over the last couple of years between Obamacare and the appointment of czars and now even Libya. I wanted to ask, is there any provisions, or are there any provisions in the Constitution to protect it, even against a sitting president, for its own self-preservation? Are there any provisions?
Yeah, I think there's tons of them, but I don't think that they've crossed. I don't think that you have to have blatant crossings.
Well, there's been nothing to protect the Constitution against the Supreme Court for the last 50 years. As excited as people get over that question, I find it hard to get that excited, because I just don't think we've lived under the Constitution during my lifetime at all.
I would agree.
And probably not for years before that. So we're muddling through, but in terms of actually restoring American constitutional government to the way it's supposed to be, I mean, an interesting experiment.
Yeah, but I think that leads to real trouble. That would throw the country into civil war. Let me go to Catherine. Where are you, Catherine? Hi, Catherine.
Hi. President Obama recently visited Brazil, and there he commended their offshore drilling program. He told them that we would be their best customer, and yet he's an advocate for their program, but he supports a ban here in the U.S. Right. How do you think he justifies that?
Easy. First of all, you left out a couple of parts. He has given, with our money, our tax dollars, this is corporate welfare, to an oil company. Given our tax dollars to their oil company, their state-run oil company. Then, right before he went, he gave them something that he won't give anybody in the United States, drilling rights, and the deepest, where Deep Horizon was, that same area, he gave Petrobras clearance to go and have storage facility there, and I believe drilling rights there. So it's beyond that. And can anybody figure out why he's doing that? Anybody have a reason? Because this is, what'd you say? Well, George Soros did have money.
Stockholder of it, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a former stockholder of it, et cetera, et cetera. But I think with this one you go to Marxism. The president of Brazil is a Marxist guerrilla revolutionary that spent time in prison. And what is the main goal of the real Marxists, the believers of this, not the Hillary Clintons of the world, but the believers of the Marxist thing, that we're the oppressor, and we've been taking the land and the resources and everything else. So what better way to redistribute the wealth, take from the rich Americans and give it to the poor country and the poor people in Brazil. That's all that is a redistribution of wealth. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. Back in just a second. back with Kevin Williamson, Richard Poe, and Richard, who's got a question here.
Yes, Glenn. Do you see the plot that Stephen Lerner's planning to take down J.P. Morgan and the New York Stock Exchange working? And if not, do they have an alternative plan?
Oh, I think they have a million. I think they have a million of them. The stock exchange, we exposed on this program audio that we recorded Stephen Lerner, SEIU, saying he's going to take down the New York Stock Exchange and J.P. Morgan Chase. And they were going to do it by encouraging people to not pay their loans. First thing, the former Acorn, what used to be known as Acorn in New York, is already doing that. There are other groups already targeting J.P. Morgan Chase. There is a website out of Baltimore that is encouraging people, don't pay your mortgages. It's happening. It's starting to happen. Let me go to Rich over here. Hi, Rich.
Hey, Glenn. Why isn't Stephen Lerner being investigated for economic terrorism?
Anybody have it?
I could say that because I believe that it's part of the pressure from above and pressure from below strategy, which Glenn has talked about many times on this show. You can't have a revolution come up from the street just from people like Steve Lerner acting without authorization. They have to have authorization from above. You can't have a bunch of peasants with pitchforks run into the street and overturn a government. You have to have traitorous elements within the government itself who support them and protect them and prevent them from being investigated. And I would add that this Lerner fellow is not alone in practicing economic terrorism. Actually, George Soros himself has been accused by the Chinese military of being a quote-unquote financial terrorist. There was a book published in English in 2002 by two Chinese colonels called Unrestricted Warfare in its English version, and they were talking about all the different types of warfare that are now possible in the information age. They had a great deal of writing about George Soros and his activities, particularly in Southeast Asia during the so-called Asian flu collapse, and they referred to him explicitly as a financial terrorist, and they were not saying that out of hyperbole or out of showmanship. These were colonels in the Chinese army speaking militarily.
Okay. This is why I feel I have other things to do that I must, because the last thing we need are more revolutionaries on the street, and you will see what I have planned, and we'll be asking you to join me with soon. We'll be back in just a minute. About 16 years ago, my life was a complete and total wreck. But because of something that one man did about 2,000 years ago, I have my life back. Happy Easter, America. Good night.